Good morning, sports fans, and welcome to the Saturday Morning Sports Show here on 97.3 WRUL. Cole Carter and Chris Myers. I want to thank all of our sponsors. First thing this morning, Little Giant Grocery Outlet, Rice Motor Company, Hell Body Shop, First Mid Bank and Trust, Wabash Christian Therapy, Bush & Associates CPAs, People's National Bank, Hamilton Memorial Hospital District, Rush Appliance and Furniture, Citizens National Bank of Albion, Nancy J. Winter CPA, Jerry Street Automotive, Farrell Hospital, Taylor Eye Care, Roark Transport, Wabash General Hospital, Invenergy, Taylor Eye Care, as well as Rush Appliance, Jordan Funeral Group, and Wabash Christian Therapy. I think I repeated a couple of those, but those are our sponsors this year. And the Bulldogs football team started their season off last night with a 46-6 win over Hamilton County. And Chris, overall, it was a pretty dominant performance on both sides of the football.
Yeah, it absolutely was. The first game of the year on the road, like we talked about last night, you want to come out early, establish your run game. If you're Carmi-White County, you know it's no secret they're going to run the football with the veteran tandem backfield of Isaac King, returning All-Stater, and Drax Odd, and newcomer Andrew Dodson. Veteran offensive line performed great. The Bulldogs just came out that first drive. It was about a 6-7 play drive. Just ran the ball consistently, 10, 7, 8, 9 yard, 10, just a pop type plays. Had a beautiful drive to start the game, and then they just never looked back from there. They just established their dominance on both sides of the football, and just fantastic victory last night to open the season.
It was a 71-yard drive to start things out, capped off by a 9-yard touchdown run by Isaac King with 7:42 left in the first quarter. Bulldogs defense would then force a 3-and-out, and it would be King again capping off their second drive with a 6-yard run at the 3:40 mark there in the first quarter. Bulldogs converted both 2-point conversions. And on that second drive, Chris, we saw one of our two chances to see Warren Legg throw the football on the night. Nice little play-action pass, and it was a nice catch by Tyler Gomat. And something we talked about last night during the broadcast, and we'll talk about throughout the year, is this team is in a different spot than what they've been in the past couple of years, which they can throw the ball very well when they need to. They're not going to too much, because again, they don't need to. They can run the ball a lot, but they can throw the ball as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And we know this, and everyone who plays Carmi, the fans, everyone knows. Out of every 10 plays we run, 9 or probably 10 of them we're going to run. But when you have those situations, a 3rd and 7, 3rd and 8, and you want to just catch the defense creeping up, because most defenses, they're going to have to keep 8 guys in the box, so to speak, 8 men towards the line of scrimmage to defend the run. So when Carmi lines up in that power I set, everyone's expecting that ISO up the middle, and all of a sudden you fake that, get your tight end down the field. That's when you want to connect, and Warren Legg did a fantastic job taking advantage of the opportunities he had. Again, we talked about Warren with a devastating knee injury last year. Was even wondering if he's going to be able to play football this year, and he rehabbed hard and made it, and is taking the role as a quarterback as a senior, position he hadn't played since junior high football, but it's done a fantastic job. Just a smart, tough kid, and directed the offense, did a great job, and just threw a beautiful pass there to his senior tight end, Gomat. I wanted to call him by his dad's name, but I was John, but it's Tyler. Tyler Gomat, big athletic 6'2", 6'3" kid, and went up and made a great grab there. And then later on in the game, which we'll get to, Legg did the same thing. This time Nate Brown, the converted guard to tight end, went up and made a nice grab. So, yeah, you definitely like to see that from Carmi, because there will be a point in time when you face competition, that they may stop your run. And it's kind of inconceivable to think that, as good as our run game is right now, but there's a day that it will happen, and you do have to be able to do some other things.
Yeah, we talked about that last night. Hamilton County, a little bit of a down year for them. They had a lot of seniors last year, and of course a new head coach. So obviously it's week 1. You don't want to get too ahead of yourself. Obviously the run game was great last night, but you might get to a point late October, early November, where you're going to face a bigger school with some big guys up front. And that's when it's important that if the run game isn't there, where you can go to that passing game, or it might be a point in the year where later in the year we see Mitchell Edwards come in and try to throw the ball around. And Simon said last night that they haven't got to that point yet. They don't need to get to that point yet, but they can if that problem comes around.
Yeah, and that's another thing we're talking about this team. What they have is depth. And it's not just at a couple positions. They have depth everywhere, which, something that Carmi has not had in years. That you talk about both sides of the offensive line. There are 3 capable kids coming in, able to come in and be backups. The defensive line, same thing. Especially early in the year, on defense especially, if you can keep those linemen rotated and fresh, that's huge, during the time of the year where it's hotter and guys are getting tired a little quicker. In the secondary, we talked about some athletic sophomores that can come in and fill spots, at linebacker and quarterback. We talked about, Warren Legg doing a great job guiding the offense last night. Mitchell Edwards, if we do go to more of a spread 4-wide look, is a big 6'5" athletic sophomore who can wing the football. And then if need be, Landon Driscoll, who is a starting receiver, has some experience at the quarterback position as well. So, anytime when you're a football coach, smaller school, you're always wanting numbers. If you're 3 deep, especially at the quarterback position, and if you have depth on both sides of the line of scrimmage, that is a great, great luxury to have as a coach.
So it was 16-0 after the first quarter of play. Then there in the second quarter, about 1 minute in, Warren Legg would have a quarterback sneak for a touchdown run. Isaac King would run the 2-point score in to make it 24-0 at that point. And the Bulldogs put together a nice little 2-minute drive to end the first half. Capped it off with a 29-yard touchdown pass from Legg to Nate Brown, as Chris just mentioned. A great catch from the inverted offensive lineman, now playing tight end. The Bulldogs would miss the 2-point conversion and led it 30-0 at halftime. Then in the third quarter, Isaac King would run in his 3rd touchdown run of the evening. Caleb Siebers capped it off with the 2-point play with 5 minutes left in the third. Bulldogs would get one more score early in the fourth quarter, first play of the fourth quarter, actually. Andrew Dodson with a 17-yard touchdown run. He also ran in the 2-point play. Hamilton County would score really a garbage time score against the Bulldogs JV with about 7 minutes left for the final score to be 46-6. Again, Bulldogs get the win on opening night. Looking at some stats from last night, of course, courtesy of Toby Brown and his crew. Bulldogs 22 first downs compared to Hamilton County's 6. And on that note, Chris, we talked about it, that the defense was almost, if not more impressive than the offense. I mean, Hamilton County at multiple points last night just had nothing going on the offensive end.
No, and to credit that, number one, credit it to scheme, but obviously credit the play of the Bulldogs up front in the at linebacker and secondary. When you're defensively, when you're coming in to play a team and you don't know what they're going to do offensively, it's not easy. It's hard to prep for an offense that you don't know what it's going to be. And that's basically what the Bulldogs were doing that night. They were just kind of flying blind to say, okay, they may run double wing, they may run wing, they may run straight, we don't know. And so for the defense to come in and adjust the way they did, what impressed me was in the type of offense, it was a wing formation out of shotgun. So what Hamco was wanting to do was kind of hit the edge a lot. They were trying to run some option, and they had a real big fullback they're trying to get up the middle. The Bulldogs stayed disciplined. The interior linemen, just really controlled the line of scrimmage, got good penetration, kept the fullback in check. And then the ends, Isaac King being one of the senior ends, did a good job staying at home, making sure that when they did run the option that he didn't jump inside, kept his contain, kept the quarterback, and then the corners did a good job coming up containing the tailback on those plays. But, you're right. That's one thing they got to overlook. We talk about this team's offense, but their defense, I think most of Hamco's first downs, I don't think they didn't get a first down that I recall until right before halftime.
Yeah,
I think that drive before halftime. Yeah. So, to play the way they did, hold Hamilton County to, I'm looking here, 160 yards of total offense. That's as impressive as anything.
Yeah, other offensive stats, the Bulldogs had 48 rushing attempts for 277 yards on the ground. Hamilton County 22 carries for 102 yards, and you put that in perspective, 47 of those 102 yards came from that touchdown run by Hunter Rhodes there at the end of the game. Warren Legg was 2 for 2 passing with 62 yards and a touchdown. Bulldogs total offensive yards 339 compared to Hamilton County's just 160. Both teams fumbled once, but neither team lost the ball. Neither team turned the ball over, and that's a big thing too, Chris. First game of the year, early turnovers was one topic we touched on, but Bulldogs, a clean game here in week 1. No turnovers, no fumbles, interceptions, turnover on downs on the offensive end.
And anytime you put zeros in the turnover column on your side, you're happy. You know, those are the things you talk about, especially in the game of football. What can absolutely just cripple your team and turn a game is a turnover. You know, in other sports, you know, basketball, you can turn the ball over, say, 10, 12 times in a game, and you can still win a game. Football, you turn the ball over 1 or 2 times in critical situations if you're deep in your own territory or if you're going in to score, things like that. Those can be game changers. So, again, we talked about last year kind of the habit the Bulldogs were in early in the year especially. It was they turned the ball over at bad times. Didn't happen last night. No fumbles, no nothing. So if you got goose eggs in that column on your side, it's going to be a good night. And 2, only 3 penalties.
Yeah.
You know, so you'll take that. You don't want to see many penalties either. So if you're at 3 or less, that's not too bad.
Bulldogs also did not punt the ball throughout the entire evening. Isaac King had 24 carries for 167 yards and 3 touchdowns. Draxonot, 11 carries for 66 yards. Andrew Dodson, 4 carries for 42 yards and 1 score. Cade Allen had 3 carries for 5 yards. Lane Gwaltney had 1 5-yard run. Noah Pollard with 1 carry for 2 yards on the evening. Again, Leg was 2 for 2 with 62 yards and a touchdown. His 2 pass completions, 1 to Tyler Gomat for 33 yards and 1 to Nate Brown for 29 yards. Also looking at the tackles from last night, Isaac King had 3, Noah Pollard 1, Cade Stockton had a tackle as well, Tyler Gomat, Landon Driscoll had 1 apiece, Caleb Siebers with 4, Draxonod had 8 total tackles, 2 assisted also. Gwaltney had 1, Brown had 2, Ryder had 1, Gavin Payton had 2, Eli Bryant had 1, and Bryson Moore had 1 tackle as well. And a big thanks to Toby Brown, Brian Weaver, and Jeremy Nelson last night, doing a great job as always, making sure we have stats after every Bulldog football game. And this is what head coach Kurt Simon had to say after the Bulldogs won last night, 46-6 against Hamilton County.
Coach, overall, week 1, you never really know what to expect, but you got to be happy with the way your team played.
Yeah, I think, we knew that our offensive line was a strength to us, and they showed it tonight. Running backs did a good job. We put the ball on the ground 1 time, but we didn't lose anything. That was the other big thing. That's the thing we talked about early in the year is control the line of scrimmage and don't put the ball on the ground. And we just did a really good job of that tonight.
Coach, share the mic here. My question for you is, it's no secret what we're going to do offensively. And when you got weapons like you got, a returning All-State back in King, Draxod, who's just, I call him Minigo, Honey Badger, and Andrew Dodson, a kid joining your backfield. He's got speed. He's got some wheels. What impressed me tonight, a facet of your offense, Warren Legs 2 play-action passes. You got a good veteran receiver, and Tyler Gomat, 6'2", can go up and get it, and a converted guard to tight end, Nate Brown, who made a great catch.
Yeah.
How awesome is to see that when you want to mix it up a little, to be able to throw that play action and have dependable quarterback to receiver connections like that. How much does that mean to this offense?
Yeah, I mean, and with that being said, Warren Lake did a really nice job managing things tonight. And, we're obviously not a, throw it 25, 30 times a game. We may throw it 2 times a game. But those have to be accurate. And then the first one that he threw, he had a guy right in his face, and he planted his feet, threw the ball, and took the hit. And so I was really proud of him making plays like that. But not only are those guys capable, Nate and Tyler, of going down the field and catching the ball and getting up and getting it, but there's really good blocking tight ends, which we need. And we haven't had, that for a few years. So we feel really good about the way things went tonight. I thought our defense played really well as well. We gave up the one right before the half or whatever, which was a penalty. But all in all, I thought kids rallied. They swarmed to the ball really good. I mean, you could see some getting tired late in the game or, late in the first half or whatever. And it's a hot, humid night, but we knew that. Overall, I was just really pleased with the way our kids came out and played. It really played together well.
Well, you beat me to it, the defense. I talked to you last night, and you weren't really sure what you were going to see from Hamilton County on the offensive end just because new head coaches and things of that nature. But the defense didn't flinch. I mean, it was a pretty much, at least the first team defense, a dominant full entire game tonight.
Absolutely. And the thing that really helps us right now from a team standpoint is, if you've noted, we've rotated lots of guys defensively on the front line. So the Bryson Moores and Gavin Paytons are not playing both ways all night. You have Ty Hollingsworth and Connor Buchanan and some other guys that can come in and spell them, which helps us a bunch, keeps people fresh, and that's not a luxury we have too many years. Most of our guys are, you got 9 guys going both ways or whatever, and we got an opportunity to get some kids some breaks, so that's really key for this year, especially early in the year when it's hot like this.
What do you, after a win like this, obviously, it's a great feeling to come on the road with a local rival, get a win like this week 1. What is the message that you send your kids going into week 2? Because obviously they're going to be on an emotional high, but this group, they're obviously hard workers, great kids. What's the message you send going into week 2? Okay, we got what we needed to do. Is it let's not lose focus or just concentrate too much on this, or let's just get back to work and focus on Vienna?
Yeah. Well, I mean, obviously, I've always been a 1 week at a time guy or whatever, and they did a great job out here doing what we asked them to do, so on and so forth. Go home, enjoy it tonight. And then I just told them in there, then we get up and we go and watch the film and see what mistakes we've had. But the bottom line, what do? You get better. You have to get better week in and week out. It doesn't matter who you're playing. It's you going down the end of College Boulevard and spending 3 days down there or 2 days down there, and not just coasting, doing what you can do to make yourself a better football player and ultimately a better team. So we're focused on getting better every week. Probably, I think as the year goes on, like from an offensive standpoint, we want to get a little bit more. We want to change things a little bit and add some things here and there. But bottom line is, every week it's about getting better. And, enjoy it tonight, but come back tomorrow and come back, really enjoy it today to tomorrow. We'll watch the film, but then it's time to go back to work Monday and we refocus and you just start all over again.
So obviously, Vienna did not have a team. Your first home game next week against Vienna. They did not have a team last year, so you have no film to watch them from last year. They play tomorrow, but I mean, have you had the chance to scout a little bit to see what you're going to face next Friday?
Don't have a clue.
I figured that was going to be your answer.
I mean, you have to remember back to who was a sophomore 2 years ago. They're a senior now.
Yeah.
So, and so we really don't. But again, that's one of those things. Kind of going in tonight, we really didn't know what Hamilton County was going to do either. And so it's just a matter of you concentrating on you. Let's us concentrate on getting better. And I thought we did a good job all around tonight. We didn't miss a lot of blocks. We didn't get lined up wrong defensively. And that's leadership. That's senior leadership, getting guys lined up right and communicating with one another and, not putting the ball on the ground. So there's a lot of positives out of tonight. But we'll go watch the film and do our corrections, and then we just got to go back and go to work and get better every week.
One more question for me, just to kind of, we were talking up here, what's unique for this football team, and correct me if I'm wrong, any coach will tell you, and we said this earlier tonight, you'd rather run the football than pass the ball. A basketball coach would take a layup over a three-pointer if they need to win. A baseball coach would take a base hit over a home run if they just need to run. This team, a 3rd and 9, a 3rd and 10, for 99% of football teams is, okay, give me spread personnel,
right,
or give me my tight ends. We got, for you guys, 3rd and 10 can mean an ISO up the middle. How much of a luxury is it to know in those situations you don't have to panic, you don't have to just abandon what you do? I mean, how great is it as a coach to know you can just do that when you want to do it?
Well, obviously, yes, it is a huge positive. And like when you talk about how do you win football games, it's about not turning the ball over, field position, and then my third one is you have to be able to run and you have to be able to stop the run. And in our league, for the most part, we're not seeing spread out all over the place, throwing the ball down the field. So, and even if you can run the ball effectively, give good field position, don't turn the ball over, you're going to burn all kinds of clock. And that's how we're built. And, I think, we do have some players. We're just not there yet to be able to spread it out a little bit. But our strength, you have to use what your strength is, So your offense changes every year. Your defense doesn't necessarily change, but your offense has to change a little bit to gear towards those type of players. And right now, without a doubt, that is a strength and that is a luxury to be able to hang on to the ball and not be afraid to go forward on fourth down. Like I said, you got to be able to stop the run and you got to be able to run.
So again, the Bulldogs won last night, 46-6, the final score over Hamilton County. That was head coach Kurt Simon after the win. Real quick, we'll take a short break, but scores from last night in the Black Diamond Conference: Johnson City shuts out Edwards County 43-0. Flora over CZR 46-14. Fairfield over El Dorado 34-14. And then later on today, Cesar-Villiers travels to Vienna. We'll take our first break of the day. When we come back, we will have a special guest right here on the Saturday Morning Sports Show on 97.3 WRUL and WROY. It's the Saturday Morning Sports Show here on 97.3 WRUL as well as 93.3 WROY and online at WRUL.com. Cole Carter and Chris Myers, Haley Winkleman across the hall, pressing all the right buttons at all the right times. We're being joined by the Carmi County High School boys and girls golf head coach, Trey Mason, Dr. Trey, in the building. Welcome in, Coach.
All right, thanks to be here.
But hey, it's your 6th year here at the helm at Carmi as the golf head coach. I know you guys have been playing for a couple of weeks now. Who you guys got on the team this year, and how are things going?
Yeah, so far I think we got off to a little rocky start. Golf always gets off to an early start. We started with the Mount Carmel Invite, which is always it's always a tough match. It's 18 holes. Some of the kids aren't used to playing 18 in the summer, so it's always a little rough. They're always nervous, but I think they did pretty good with our boys lineup. We've got 2 seniors in Zach Roark and Gage Atterbury, and kind of looking for them to kind of be some leaders. Then we've got a junior in Connor Newell. Got a couple sophomores, Trevor Mason, Aiden Willis, and then got 5 freshmen who, it's going to take some time, but I think they're going to be some good golfers. On the girls' side, we've got 1 senior, Sailor Mason, and then we're super heavy on sophomores. We've got 5 of them. Again, they're similar to the boys' freshmen. I think they're gonna have success, but golf just takes time, and those sophomores are made up of Maeve Atterbury, Ava Sheaver, Courtney Snow, Sadie Balding, and Kinley Carter. So, they're going to be pretty good, but it's just going to take some time. And then on the girls' side, I got 1 freshman. So, overall, I think we're young. I think that kind of showed Mount Carmel Invite. Plus, you're going up against Mount Carmel girls who are technically they're probably legit 8th in the nation because they represented Illinois in the national amateur and took 8th place. And so, that's pretty nerve-wracking itself. So it might even intimidate the boys a little bit. I don't know. It wouldn't me. They're pretty salty. I think most of them put up scores that I haven't shot in years. Yeah. So, overall, golf's so mental that I think we haven't found that match yet this year that's kind of given us some confidence. And I think once we do that, they'll level out and start to play a little bit better. But so far, I think it's a good start. And so it's been positive.
Yeah, and you made the point earlier. I talked to you earlier in the year about it, and you've had a couple of groups in your coaching career here that had some big senior classes, and big in golf terms, just 3 or 4 seniors here or there. But this year you have 2 senior boys, and of course Saley, your daughter, the lone senior girl. But you mentioned those youngsters, the freshmen and sophomores that might not be that caliber yet as freshmen, but you think that here in a couple of years they could be that next big group that possibly makes a run to Bloomington.
Yeah, really, golf is such a different sport. Outside looking in, you might think, well, you just have about 18 kids. It can't be that hard, right? Piece of cake. And it's so individual. And when we have a practice, I might spend an hour and a half just with 2 kids and then not get to see 12 others. So it's tough. These younger kids, they're, especially the freshman boys, they're really out there all the time, and that's what it takes. And the sophomore girls, the thing about them, they're really athletic girls. So if they keep plugging along, and like I said, golf, you you just can't burst on the scene overnight. It's just really, it takes a long time. So, I mean, realistically, when you come in as a freshman, if you have a really good junior year and senior year, I mean, it's going to take 2 years to kind of get there where you need to be. And so if these guys do it and stick with it, I do think by the time they're seniors, they're going to have great results.
Yeah. How is this? My question, just for golf, not rarely having played it. How do you structure a golf practice? First, what time of year are you allowed to officially practice?
Yeah.
And how do you personally structure a golf practice? What does a typical practice look like?
Yeah, that's a great question, and it's tricky. We're also dealing with the fact that we play at a private country club where there's members, so it's not like I'm the football coach and this is my football field and no one's allowed in. We've got to share it. So in the summer, IHSA allows you, they call them meetings, and so you're allowed certain meetings, and it's pretty much like a practice, but you just make sure, because golf is so crucial, that you play in the summer. Because once we get going, like September, I think there's only 3 days in total in September when we practice. The rest of them we have meets. So really your practice, it has to be done in the summer. So we'll have meetings, and then when the season gets going, it's pretty much, somebody may come up and say, hey, coach, I'm having a problem with my driver, and I just kind of go work with them. Some kids are on the range one day, and some kids are playing one day. So it's a little bit of structure, and it's a little bit of hit and miss too. So, it's sometimes it's a free for all too. So yeah. I've been hit by golf balls from some of the players when they're out there. So yeah, it's definitely tough when you have 18. It's so individual, but I feel like we just kind of make it work the way we can. So.
And of course, your lone senior on the girls' side. You know her pretty well, Sailor, your daughter. What's that been like? Obviously she's played all 4 years, and here being a senior, what's that been like? Watching her, not only on a golf standpoint, but just over the past 4 years to get to this point.
Yeah, it's been a lot of fun. She was kind of on the fence going in. She'd played a little bit, and then I think also thinking, I don't know, my dad's the coach. I'm not sure if that's going to work. And so she was on the fence, and so then she said, yeah, I'm going to play. And she came in with a good group. We had Allie G and Izzy Bryant and had some really fun girls that probably put the fun above the golf, which lured her in. And so from there, she stuck with it. And, it's been fun. I'm sure you guys have probably at some point Little League had your dad as a coach, and it's not always fun because, when the public's watching, especially as a teacher, you do kind of sometimes have to make the example out of your own, son or daughter. So there's time that's happened. One of my favorite stories is Clay Gray told me last year, we were at a practice round, and Sailor had a little punch shot, and Ellie Gray played for us. Great golfer and great girl, and I came through there, and I guess I didn't really mean to make it sound the way I did, but I told Sailor, I said, you're going to have to punch, you're kind of in the trees. And so she punched, and it was just kind of off the cuff. I said, that's a terrible punch shot. And then it just kind of rolled on. And Clay told me later, he's like, Ellie just about got down laughing so hard because you just kind of rolled up and said, that was a terrible punch shot, and then just rolled on. And so, I'm sure she takes a lot of that, but we've had a lot of fun too, and we've had a lot of laughs, and that's what sports are all about. So it's been great. So.
And your boys seniors, Gage and Zach, of course, they've been around all 4 years, and if I'm right, they were freshmen on that second team that went to state back in 2019. So, and you've had the chance to really watch them all 4 years to become leaders they are. Yeah,
and really I remember when Gage came in his freshman year, he really stepped up and helped us out at West Frankfort. I can't remember if it was the sectional or the regional, but I mean his score counted, and it was a big one. And then Zach, I kind of think his game and it's like a love-hate relationship. He's high risk, high reward. He likes to go for it, and he might come in this year with a 37, or he might come in with a 57. You just never know. Both of them, though, I had Zach in the second grade, and then I've been around Gage pretty much all my life, all his life, and so they're fun to watch. I feel like they're kind of part of my own. That's probably why I get a little irked with them. I want them to do a little better than what they do, but golf is tough. So so far they're doing a good job this year.
How I'm kind of the technical nerd on things, how things work. For a golf match itself, obviously you don't have, correct me if I'm wrong, officials at every hole.
Right.
So
yeah.
for just a regular season match, how is it officiated? Is it just basically the kids are on their own, or do you have someone there, or the coaches, or how does that work?
No, they're pretty much policing themselves, and the IHSA they've tried in the last couple of years to kind of take steps to I'd say watch kids better, because obviously even when I played high school golf, cheating would go around, and you have to watch other players. I guess it was maybe 3 years ago the IHSA introduced an app called IHSA Golf. So this past Wednesday, I was out. Luckily for me, it was a home match, and Hamilton County kind of stepped in and ran the match, but we ran it on an app, so the kids keep score on the app, and I was able to kind of keep up with kids, what they're doing, and then as far as the rules, they do kind of have to police themselves, and the golf rule book's about as thick as the phone book. I mean, it's tough. They don't know all the rules a lot of times, but they can, even on this app, they can hit call for coach, and coaches can come out, and so it has helped. They use it at the state level throughout the regional, sectional, and state, and so it does help for that.
Now, the state tournament, there are officials at every hole. Pretty much,
usually it's about every 3 holes, and then they've had the state tournament for 1A at the same course for years, so they know all the problem spots where kids are going to run into trouble. So they really do a good job of kind of being out there where something might arise. But as far as officials, they're not watched every single hole, but there's always enough parents out there that they're keeping it a close score too. So they may come up to me and say, I don't think that player from that town got a 4 because they were in the ditch, and so they it's hard to get called out pretty good. So
that's a good thing about that sport that teaches kids character in itself. To say, hey, no, I didn't hit that shot right, I need to count it up. It's a character builder. Just old, what you do when no one's watching is more important than what you do when people are watching.
Oh, for sure, definitely, yeah.
Kind of going off what Chris asked earlier, you're the lone coach basically, and taking care of 18 teenagers. Does that get tough in terms of practice and matches as well? Just because you only have so many people you could watch at once, and so many players you can help at once. I can imagine that's got to be tough.
Yeah, it is. It's oftentimes I compare it to if you're the basketball coach, you come in first day of practice and you might run plays. You're not teaching kids how to shoot the ball. You have a lot of kids come in, they know how to shoot the ball, or even like Warren Legg last night did a tremendous job throwing the ball. I doubt Kurt had 2 hours every practice to work with him throwing the ball. He comes in knowing how to throw, and golf is just so different. I have 18 kids that sometimes they all need help just hitting the ball, and so that it makes it tough. You do kind of have to prioritize, and sometimes the freshmen, they don't get as much time with me as the seniors, because senior has a little problem in their swing. Then I try to dedicate it to them, because they're going to shoot 38, 39, 40. That's going to help the team go low, and freshmen are going to kind of shoot their normal. So it's tough, and it's it's rewarding when you see them kind of make a breakthrough and you help them out. And I do wish that I could get to all 18 of them every week, but it's just not possible. So you just kind of have to prioritize your time on that.
Yeah. So kind of time traveling a little bit, back in 2018, 2019, both the boys teams from both those years went to the state tournament, brought home 4th place. And of course, if you go in the gym, the only state championship banners Carmi has is in golf from the early 70s. So what was that experience like with both those teams back in 2018 and 2019 to go up to Bloomington? Had some great golfers on both those teams, and to compete at the state level.
Yeah, it was really it was probably I've coached track for 15 years and just done several things within the school system, and those state trips were just extremely special, and probably what made it even more special were the 6 kids I took. They were just unique kids. Loved the game, loved to compete, I'll never forget the time it snowed and they wiped out the whole round. Most kids were, it's cold and complaining, and I roll around and Casey Fulkerson saying, "This is awesome," and I mean the ball is rolling and building up snow like a snowball, and he's out there just loving it, and that's what made him so great. We would the bus rides to the match. I mean, they had a little tradition where they would play the Charlie Daniels band, every single match, and they just had something special, and they made golf fun. They worked hard. On the way there, I mean, I was like, I'm gonna have to shut them down. But then once they got there, man, they were all business, and it really was a once in a lifetime opportunity. That state venue is there's just something about it. It's not like where Duke plays, but it has a special feel to it that you just know that, hey, this is state, and so it was a super special time. So
you also wear many hats. You mentioned you coach track, a teacher here in the school system as well, but you're also the public address voice of the Bulldog football team. Your second year doing that this year, first home game next Friday. What's that been like? Because that's a fun job to have.
You know what? It was a kind of a nice surprise. I still remember I was at a spring baseball game, and Kurt came up to me, and he said, "Have you ever thought about maybe doing public address?" And I said, "Well, no, I never have." But he said, I just really, and you had done it, I think, the year before, and kind of stepped in there. And he's like, I just don't know who I'm going to get. And I thought, well, I'll give it a whirl. And that first game in the Gator Bowl, Bart King came up to me and Jared Knoll came up to me, and they were like, you're a natural. And I did not think I was a natural by any means, but and then it just kind of snowballed, and then now Bart King and Jared Knoll both, they're like, they nicknamed me the voice of the Bulldogs, and so we kind of laughed about it. But I do have a fun job. I mean, it's a great job. It's a lot of fun, and I love getting kind of crowd into it, and plus, I mean, this group of kids right now, I mean, you've talked about them on the football field. They're a good group. I mean, that's my daughter's class. I've grown up with Isaac King, and I've had Draxod tear up stuff in my classroom. I mean, I love those kids. They're great, and so anything I can do to help the season, and I'm just more than willing to do. So it's been fun.
You've definitely become a staple at those games, because I know a lot of people look forward to you announcing, and it just brings a sense of when you have someone like yourself who gets the crowd into it. You work at the school, they know you've got these kids back. It just kind of it's a cool thing. It really is. You're doing a great job.
Well, I appreciate that. It's been fun. I went to some Cardinal games over the summer, and I've got a couple new things I'm going to pull out this year. So hopefully it'll go over well. And it's going to be a great season. It really is. So.
Well, fans will have the chance to hear Trey do the PA at the first home game next Friday as the Bulldogs take on Vienna Goreville. Well, Trey, thanks for stopping in. Again, best of luck to the rest of the golf season and seasons to come.
All right, thank you.
We'll take our second break up the morning. When we come back, we will take a look at scores from this past week and this upcoming week's schedule right here on 97.3 WRUL and 93.3 WROY. It's the Saturday Morning Sports Show here on 97.3 WRUL and 93.3 WROY and online at WRUL.com. Big thanks to the Carmi golf coach, Trey Mason, for swinging by. A great chat with him, and not only the golf coach, but of course the PA voice of the Bulldogs. And really excited for the first home football game coming up next Friday. We will get to that in just a second, but first let's take a look at some scores from this past week. Back on Monday, junior high baseball and softball traveled to Fairfield. The baseball team got a win 5-3. Softball lost 14-2. Girls tennis, they took on Salem. They won that one 8-1. The volleyball team traveled to Mount Carmel. They won that one in 2 sets. Volleyball was back in action on Tuesday against a very good Edwards County squad at home. They lost that one in 2 sets. 2 close scores. That one was. The boys and girls golf team hosted Hamilton County, as Trey mentioned, on Wednesday. The girls lost that one by a score of, if I can find it here, a score of 190-223, and the boys lost by just 2 strokes, 189-191. That was on Wednesday. On Thursday, junior high baseball and softball hosted El Dorado. The baseball team lost 11-1. The softball team won 17-0. Addie Corson threw a 4-inning no-hitter in that game for the Lady Bullpups. It was a end of their losing streak, a big win for them. And of course, last night the Bulldog football team, a big 46-6 win over the Hamilton County Foxes. A few teams are in action today. The girls tennis team, they travel to Marion for the Marion Invitational. Junior high softball is taking part in the Johnson City tournament, and junior pro football is back in action tonight. They had last week off. They travel to Fairfield tonight. Also want to say congratulations to Chris Cordy, that is, the girls tennis coach. He collected his 200th win in that win against Salem on Monday. So congrats to Chris Cordy on his 200th career coaching win. And I asked him earlier in the week his thoughts on that, and he goes, I've been here a long time.
Yeah.
Very a Chris Cordy type answer. But
just to give you an idea how long he's been here, his first year of teaching was my junior year of high school. I had him for history, and that was the fall of 1990. Yeah. So there you go.
Yeah, been around a long time, but a great tennis coach.
Yeah.
He coaches. He was my tennis coach spring of my junior and senior year, so he's been a lot. And again, congratulations to his 200th career win. So looking ahead to this upcoming week and what's going on in Carmi Athletics, the boys and girls golf teams will travel to Waltonville, or technically they're going to play in Mount Vernon, but it's Waltonville and Woodlawn that they will be squaring off against on Tuesday. The girls tennis team will take on Mount Carmel at home, and then junior pro football will have that one Tuesday game they play every year. They will take on Edwards County at home. On Wednesday, boys and girls golf will host El Dorado and Mount Vernon, Indiana. Junior high baseball will host the defending state champion Albion softball and baseball teams. Then on Thursday, boys golf will host Mount Carmel. Girls tennis will travel to Mount Vernon. Volleyball will host Gallatin County. And junior high baseball and softball will host Benton. Then next Friday, Carmi football again at home against Vienna Goreville. And junior high baseball and softball will travel to Olney. So that is your sports schedule for this upcoming week. Again, all the fall sports teams now are officially in action, with football getting started last night. So the busyness is really amping up here at the high school over the next couple of months. We'll go ahead and take our final break of the morning. When we come back, we will take a look at some national sports right here on the Saturday Morning Sports Show. It's the Saturday Morning Sports Show on 97.3 WRUL and 93.3 WROY. Wrapping things up this morning with the national sports outlook on a couple of things. The St. Louis Cardinals lost last night, a little embarrassing fashion, 11-4 at home against the Atlanta Braves. They will have two more against the Braves tonight and tomorrow. College football gets underway today with quote-unquote week 0, as they call it. A couple of big schools in action. Illinois will host Wyoming later on today, but a lot of FCS smaller schools getting some action today. And then things will really kick off Thursday night is when we'll see a lot of the bigger schools take part. And then, of course, next Saturday is the first full week of really the first week of college football. And then the NFL will start 2 weeks from tomorrow is the first week of NFL action on September 11th. So excited for the NFL to start things off, and baseball getting down the final stretch of the postseason right around the corner. So again, I've always said it's the best time of the year in terms of sports. You got football starting off, the postseason baseball right around the corner. So and this fall season, it's the best sports season by far.
No, there's no question about that. If you're a baseball fan, obviously it's your favorite time of year. If you're a football fan, it's your favorite time of year. So and if you're a fan of both, it's the best of both worlds.
So last week, our terrible 10 picks didn't have any sporting events going on outside of baseball, so we did our best to predict certain champions and certain aspects for this coming sports season. So this being the first week of college football, our first week of an actual terrible 10 pick'em. So here we go. Chris, we got 10 games going on over the next week or so in college football. We'll start off today. Austin Peay at Western Kentucky. Who do you got?
I'm going to take Western Kentucky.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. Austin Peay isn't normally the best in football, but Western Kentucky gets a couple of good teams every once in a while. Nebraska against Northwestern. I believe that game is being played in Dublin today. So Nebraska against Northwestern. Who you got?
I'm going to take Nebraska simply because this is it. Scott Frost, this is the last year he'll have to more or less keep his job. Mm-hmm. They had a lot of close calls last year. My mom is from Nebraska, so she's a big Nebraska fan. So give her a shout out. So I'm gonna pick the Huskers.
Northwestern football has definitely not been the best team in the Big Ten for the past few years. I will go with Nebraska as well. Nevada at New Mexico State. Now we're getting into some teams that we have know nothing about.
Well, New Mexico State has been bad for a long time. Nevada's hasn't been great for a long time either. So that's kind of a pick your poison. Since they're at home, I guess I'll go with New Mexico State.
Chris will go with New Mexico State. I will go with Nevada. Why not?
There you go.
Kind of a game with local interest. Wyoming at Illinois. Little fun fact about this game. Wyoming's tight end, Jackson Marcotte from Mount Carmel. Those of you might recall him on the basketball court. Great basketball player. He is Wyoming's starting tight end. He'll be on the field today up in Champaign as they take on the Fighting Illini. Who do you got?
I'm going to have to go with the Fighting Illini.
Yeah.
I think Brett Bielema's, he was a veteran coach for Wisconsin in the Big Ten. He knows Big Ten football. I think he'll have Illinois to where they're competing to get in a bowl this year, at least a bowl game. So I'm going to go with Illinois.
Our last game of interest for today is Vanderbilt. They travel to Hawaii. Who do you got, Chris?
That's, again, another two programs that haven't exactly been football powers for a long time. I'm going to say just because of the jet lag, I'll give Hawaii the slight edge in that one.
Fair enough. I think, and Vanderbilt, too, one of those schools that just is, they're in the SEC and they haven't competed very well in the SEC. I will go with Hawaii as well. Forgot to mention, I will go with Illinois also today over Wyoming. Looking ahead to Thursday, West Virginia, they travel to Pittsburgh. Number 17, Pittsburgh, in the Backyard Bowl. I'm going to go with the Panthers here. Who do you got, Chris?
I'm gonna follow you. I'm going to take Pittsburgh in that one.
Pittsburgh, they had a pretty good year last year, and they might look like the same this year. Also on Thursday, Eastern Illinois against Northern Illinois.
Northern Illinois, bigger school. Eastern Illinois is, FCS Division I AA. So, Northern Illinois has had some good solid years. These past few years have been bowl eligible. So I'm gonna take Northern Illinois in that one.
New Mexico State, I'll also take Northern Illinois there. New Mexico State back in it. They are at Minnesota on Thursday. Who do you got there?
Minnesota.
Yeah, me as well.
Definitely. They'll win some games in the Big Ten.
Interesting game in the Big Ten there in Week 1. Penn State travels to Purdue, and Penn State wasn't great last year. Purdue, I think, they did play in a bowl game last year. Had a pretty good season. So Penn State against Purdue, who do you got?
Purdue is one of those schools who always wins games they're not supposed to, but loses games they shouldn't.
Yeah.
A couple years ago they upset Ohio State, I believe.
Yep.
Last year I think they had an upset win against Iowa, but then they could turn around the next week and lose to Northwestern. So it just
or New
depends.
Mexico State,
right? Or that exactly. So Penn State, they'll still be solid. They'll still be a solid football team. I'm going to go ahead and go with Penn State in this one.
Okay.
I just think, Purdue tends to not come out of the gate strong for whatever reason. So I'm going to go Penn State.
Well, Penn State, one of my I don't have really a favorite college team, but Penn State is one of my favorite teams. But I really like Purdue. Again, they had a good year last year. And Brady Allen, Gibson Southern, of course, I called Gibson Southern last year. Brady Allen, he is their backup quarterback. So hopefully he gets a chance at some point this year. But I will go with Purdue there against Penn State next Thursday. And then next Friday, a big local matchup, Illinois at Indiana up in Bloomington, Indiana. And Indiana didn't have a great season last year by any means. I will take the Fighting Illini here on the road.
I would agree with that. In 2020, the COVID season, the Hoosiers were actually
very good.
They almost beat Ohio State.
Yep.
Took them to the limit. And then, you were thinking, okay, this is a stepping stone for their program. They're going to be right in it going forward. And then last year just absolutely laid an egg for their season. So I would, if Illinois plays well today, which I hope they would, then I would expect them to get the win in Indiana as well.
So there are terrible 10 picks for this week. We'll let you know how we did next week, and we'll tell you who we got in next week's college football action. So that's about going to wrap things up this morning here on the Saturday Morning Sports Show. Again, a big thanks to Trey Mason for swinging by and chatting with us. Big thanks to Haley Winkleman over across the hall putting us on the air. Also want to thank all of our sponsors, Little Giant Grocery Outlet, Rice Motor Company, Hale Body Shop, First Mid Bank and Trust, Wabash Christian Therapy, Bush & Associates CPAs, People's National Bank, Hamilton Memorial Hospital District, Rush Appliance and Furniture, Citizens National Bank of Albion, Nancy J. Winter CPA, Cherry Street Automotive, Farrell Hospital, Taylor Eye Care, Roark Transport, Wabash General Hospital, and Invenergy. So we will talk to you next Friday night as the Bulldogs take on the Vienna-Goreville Eagles, and we'll also be back here next Saturday at 9 a.m. So for Chris Myers, I'm Cole Carter. Have a great rest of your weekend.